So let's call this the unofficial start of the college football season. It really isn't, because that's going to be Saturday. But as opposed to that Saturday when we had two worthless college football games that I broke down for you, and let's face it, I told you exactly how to play those games perfectly. We've got 4 games on tap tonight. We've got a handful of games on tap for tomorrow, but the big card is obviously Saturday. But that still doesn't mean you've got a 50-50 betting proposition to win these games tonight, even though the majority of them are double-digit spreads. But I'm going to talk on this video report about 2 of them. The games between New Mexico State and Minnesota, and Central Florida and Connecticut. Plus, I'm going to give you a baseball complimentary play as well. But as for yours truly, well, last night I actually lost. And I actually lost for a second straight day. Yes, there's no BS here. You know me. I always tell you exactly how things are hanging. And I lost for a second straight day with a run line play, as the St. Louis Cardinals failed me as a $1.30 underdog on the run line. The night before, I also lost a 20-dime raise the bar play with the Houston Astros on the run line at even money. Now, that's the beauty, of course, of playing run line plays. You often maximize your profit, and you always minimize your losses. But back-to-back losses, well, you know, that's happened to me many times here over the past 10 weeks during this magnificent baseball run I've been on. And as I've told you many, many times, it has done very little to shake my confidence, because prior to these 2 straight losing days, the previous betting week, well, I went 6-1 with my plays, and they were all raised to bar 20-dime releases. And even though there are a handful of college football games tonight, I'm sorry, guys, these are not games that I'm really interested in putting my money on. Double-digit favorites, either at home or on the road? No. Because the beauty of betting college football early in the season is that you find value where games standing out on the card, the value are in the games where the odds makers, well, you concentrate the most, where they are concentrating the least. The under-the-radar games. You find them on big boards like Saturdays. You don't find them on little handful of game cards like tonight. So I'll take a pass and give you my thoughts on those games coming up. Instead, for me, it's back to baseball. And I've got another raise the bar 20-dime release going tonight. My pitcher's advantage lock of the month, as I go for raise the bar 20-dime winner number 22 out of 33 since 5 Fridays ago. As I go for winning day number 41 out of 62 overall. And you get it for half price by using coupon code RAISE. Now, there are a couple of guys, though, that do have significant football plays tonight, and let me quickly tell you about them. Chris Jordan, top-rated 1,000-star season opening game of the year, New Mexico State, Minnesota. $1 bettors, up over 49 grand the past 634 days. And he opened the college season with a 3,000-star winner with Wyoming over New Mexico State on Saturday. $1 bettors have made a little over $13,000 in college football since the 2015 season. You get it for over half price off by using coupon code Chris, his first name. And Chuck O'Brien going for winning day number 5 out of 6 since Saturday. He has his 4th ever 100-dime college football release coming out of the gate strong with a play on Central Florida and Connecticut. Now, he lost a 100-dime play in baseball last night, but he had won 100-dime plays with St. Louis, Houston, and Arizona, all run-line underdogs on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. You got all these plays for over half price off. Same thing goes tonight by using coupon code CHUCK, and all the other discounts and promo codes are over on the home page. So, without further ado, let's get to the breakdowns for these complimentary plays here for you. Let's start talking about the game between Central Florida and U.Conn. Central Florida is a 24-point favorite in tonight's contest. Of course, Scott Frost is no longer there, but the bulk of this Central Florida team is back, especially on offense, led by quarterback Mackenzie Milton. If you go to last year's game, when these two met in Orlando, Central Florida took an early 21-3 lead. They were cruising at halftime 28-10. They won the game 49-24. But it was a very sloppy effort. A lot of turnovers, a lot of penalties, not a very crisp effort offensively and a very poor effort defensively, because the Connecticut quarterback who was starting for the first time last year, he was a JUCO transfer, David Pendle, who wasn't a great passer last year. He was only a 52.8% passer last season for the Huskies. He threw for 201 yards and ran for 96 yards in last year's game. Now, the one thing Connecticut can do, they have some offensive talent. With Pinder, they've got a couple of good running backs with Xavier Scott and Kevin Mensah. They have a very good offensive line. They have a very talented wide receiver, and Malaya. Problem is with U.Conn, this is a very inexperienced team. Very inexperienced, especially defensively. This is a U.Conn team that I think only has 9 starters coming back on their depth chart from a year ago. They only have 2 defensive starters back. So I think that it's not going to be a question of Central Florida being able to put points on the board just like they did last year when Scott Frost was running the team, when they went 13-0, and they were, in Scott Frost's mind and everybody that was in Orlando, the de facto national champions. Sorry, Alabama. In their eyes, they won the national title. I think that they will be able to put points on the board. The question that I always had, and the problem that you had playing Central Florida last year, was whether they could stop anybody. That is ultimately the question that has to be answered here. So I don't think that Connecticut is going to be able to stop Central Florida. The question is Central Florida going to be able to stop Connecticut? You're asking a team coming out of the gate to post a 24-point victory on the road in its opener. And it's not like Connecticut has a rabid fan base. In fact, I read an article here in researching this game, the Hartford Courant, which said that the beat writer, or the writer of the story, had said that as of this past Monday, they only had sold 17,000 some tickets for this game. And they also noted in the story that season ticket sales were down by almost 40% from a year ago. So it's not like, this is going to be a sellout crowd here. But once again, the question is, which way do you want to go here? And do you have faith that Central Florida's defense is going to be able to stop Connecticut's offense in this game? Because I think there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Connecticut's defense is not going to be able to stop the Knights. And that's the way I'm going to lean. If I had to play the game, I would go ahead and I would lay the points with Central Florida. And yes, it is an official complimentary play. Of the games on tonight's card, that's the one I like. Central Florida minus the points. Going against a Connecticut team that was 3-9 last year, a team that couldn't stop anybody passing the ball last year, gave up almost 340 yards a game through the air last year, and I don't see this team being any better this season. But would I lay 24 points when I'm so damn hot in baseball over the past 10 weeks with the bankroll I've accumulated the past 10 weeks in baseball, even though I lost the past 2 nights? Are you crazy? No. With that being said, let's move to the next game, Minnesota. This is going to be the second season, of course, with P.J. Fleck at the helm for the Golden Gophers, and he has the same problem that he had last year, an unimaginative offense with quarterback issues. Yet, you're asking Minnesota to lay 22 points against New Mexico State. Now, if you got my analysis when New Mexico State played Wyoming on Saturday, I was right on the button. I thought that New Mexico State would have problems offensively against a Wyoming team that came into Las Cruces with the number 9 defense from a year ago in the nation, with a number 23 defense from a year ago in the nation, a very stout defense. And what happened? Wyoming just overpowered New Mexico State. The Aggies were a team that had lost their starting quarterback from a year ago, Tyler Rogers, a team that had lost its big running back from a year ago, Larry Rose III, was not the same New Mexico State team that ended a 52-year postseason drought and advanced to the Arizona Bowl, where it upset Utah State. This is not the same New Mexico State team. And even though Wyoming, going on the road for its season opener on Saturday, was not the same team minus Josh Allen at quarterback, I thought that Wyoming would win the game, and I thought it would be a low-scoring game because the Cowboys' defense was so superior. So what happened? Wyoming controlled the line of scrimmage, held the ball for 41 minutes nearly in that game. New Mexico State did not cross midfield to its final possession of the game, and that led to its only score of the game. And Wyoming absolutely owned every category in the stat box, outrushed New Mexico State, 312 yards to -9, I think it was, in that contest for New Mexico State. As I said, time of possession, 41 minutes. Total yardage, Wyoming, 449, 135 net total yards for New Mexico State. Wyoming, 22 first downs, 7 first downs for New Mexico State. And keep in mind, again, Wyoming was starting a first-year quarterback, making his first start ever. New Mexico State's defense, which was a returning veteran unit from a team that last year gave up 29 points a game, which may not sound good, but 2 years prior, or a year prior, which would have been 2 years ago, that team gave up 45 points a game, so it was vastly improved. Couldn't stop for Wyoming, a guy by the name of Nico Evans, who ran the ball for 190 yards and 24 carries. In his first 3 years at Wyoming, he had 26 carries for 180 yards. They couldn't stop him. Well, tonight, that same New Mexico State team is going to be facing a much better offensive line in Minnesota. A big, burly, Big Ten offensive line that has Rodney Smith behind it. Rodney Smith last year, 229 carries, 977 yards, 4.3 yards a carry. During his 3-year career with the Golden Gophers, he's run for over 2,800 yards. He has over 3,800 yards in all-purpose yards. Here's the problem. That is it for Minnesota when it comes to their offensive abilities. They don't have a hell of a lot else. They've got a true freshman starting at quarterback. And this is the problem with PJ Fleck's team. They are just unimaginative offensively. They don't have a lot of talent on that side of the ball. All that being said, this is a paycheck game for New Mexico State. You're coming off a 29-7 loss at home on Saturday night, right? Here you are Thursday night. You take an $800,000 paycheck, which you need because you're an independent this year. You had to cobble together a schedule to fly to Minneapolis to play this game against the Golden Gophers. NFL players complain about Sunday-Thursday splits. Here you are, a college football team played in the 90-some degree heat of Las Cruces on Saturday night, and you're flying to play this game on Thursday because it's an $800,000 paycheck for your team. They're starting a quarterback in Matt Romero, who was a junior college transfer. He looked like he was not up to game speed. He was sacked 3 times until being pulled late in that contest by Wyoming's defense, which overpowered the offensive line for New Mexico State. Wyoming's defense, I actually think, is better than Minnesota's, but he's still going to have problems here in his first road start. I think if you play this game, I would lean perhaps toward the under. I think you have to play it with Minnesota laying the 22 points as well. So, again, I lean toward both chalks, but the official free play would be, again, Central Florida in this one. In baseball tonight, the Red Sox are minus $1.30 on the run line at Chicago. Rick Porcello going for the Red Sox in this one. You know, it's interesting. Rick Porcello has actually pitched better on the road than he has at Fenway. 9-3 with a 3.7 earned run average in 15 road starts versus a 4.74 ERA and a 6-4 mark in 12 starts at Fenway. Has he pitched well in the month of August? No. One bad start against Toronto has really inflated the numbers. 4.78 ERA in 5 starts in August. 2 bad starts in his last 8 has inflated that number to 5.72 in his last 8 starts. The Boston Red Sox, however, are still, even though they've struggled a little bit here of late, are still on a 43-16 roll, and they're still 44-24 on the road. So although the White Sox have played better ball recently, winning 11 of their last 15 games, keep in mind, the White Sox are still 15 games under 500 playing on the south side this season, and even though Lucas Giolito has pitched better too here of late. This is a guy at home. He has an 8.18 earned run average, and that's over 12 starts. And in those 12 starts, opponents are hitting .272 against him. And you have a Red Sox team that leads the major leagues in hitting, has an outstanding batting average and runs scored production on the road, and that's why I'm willing to lay the Red Sox 1.5 runs to take them at 130 tonight in this game. So your official complimentary plays again, Central Florida and the Red Sox on the run line, and I also lean toward Minnesota and a little bit toward the under in that game as well for the Golden Gophers at home in the paycheck game for New Mexico State. And that'll do it. Wish you well and talk to you again tomorrow.